chemistry. All right, if you are watching this video, hopefully you're a science ninja, and we just started chemistry, or the third chapter of the year, and I personally am excited to finally get into some of the big content of the year. Okay, there are two big things going on this chapter that we don't normally do, so I thought I'd make a quick video just in case you missed class, so that you know exactly what's going on. So the first one is the 40 element quiz. Yes, a couple weeks from now, we are going to have a 40 element quiz. Now, it makes no sense in today's world where you've got apps on your phone and you can just go onto the periodic table and see that kind of stuff whenever you want 24/7. It makes no sense that you have to memorize the entire periodic table with all well over 100 of those element names and symbols and everything like that. However, you are a chemistry student, and we're going to have 2 more chapters this year where you are going to need to know these element symbols constantly, day in and day out, to make your life much, much easier, especially once we get into balancing chemical equations or talking about the different types of chemical equations. You're going to want to know, the difference between an H and an HE because it changes a lot in the question. So it would take you forever to do even simple questions if every single element on there you had to look up, like what is BE compared to like SN and things like that. So it's going to save you a lot of work. So what I've done is I've picked out 40 of the elements that are either A, the most commonly used ones, or I've got a couple of them like mendelevium or einsteinium, californium. Yes, that really is an element. A couple of them that are just kind of fun ones are on there too. But most of them are just common ones like copper or nickel or cobalt that we'll use all the time in class, right? So there is a quiz coming up. Check on Schoology. It'll have the exact date of the quiz. But that's there for you, and I just want to make sure that you understood that. On the quiz, right, I'll give you the element name, so I'll say hydrogen, so you don't have to memorize how to spell mendelevium compared to einsteinium or germanium. I'll give you the element name, and then they'll just have 4 choices there for you to pick from. So you want to make sure that you pick the right element symbol. So remember, the first letter is always capitalized. The second letter, if there is one, is always going to be lowercase, right? So that's the way that the quiz will be. Okay, the second thing that's going to be going on is going to be your element research project, which is going to be page number 18 in your workbook, right? So I forgot, the first page is page 15, right, with the element symbols. If you flip on over to page 18, that's going to be this page right here, the element research project. There are 2 portions for the element research project, right? First thing is this page right here, the actual research for it and everything. If you were in class, you hopefully have already signed up for your element. If you're stuck at home for whatever reason, honestly, just pick whichever element on the periodic table you want. One tip that I always give students is the lower the number or the higher up in the periodic table the element is, the easier this project is to do. You can pick an element well over number 100, but it makes it much, much harder to do if you're doing that. All right, so pick the element symbol. Hold on, the lights just went out. I'm back. Pick your element symbol. So you're going to put the element's name here. You're going to put the element symbol right here. Then they just ask you a series of questions about the element: atomic weight, melting point, density, phase at room temperature. Just means, is it a solid, is it a liquid or a gas when it's at room temperature? Because all the elements can be solid, liquid, or gas, just depending on how hot they are. What the element looks like, just kind of describe it. What color is it? Is it shiny? Is it dull? You could get into, is it brittle or not? Does it crumble apart? Things like that. Simple description of it. What are its uses? Some of the elements are highly, highly useful. Others are not very practical to be used at all. Health benefits are just, is it something that's good for human beings, right? Some of the elements, let's say calcium, you want to take actual supplements in some cases and actually get more of that element into your body. Other elements, let's say mercury, are super poisonous, right? It's really, really bad for you if you're having that element inside of you. Right, and then interesting facts about your element, just kind of look up, what's kind of interesting, what is it used for? Even some elements are totally useless and everything, so maybe you could have that, or how was it made, or where was it discovered? So some kind of interesting fact about your element is what you need to have in that one. Right, so that's going to be the first half of the project. That gets filled in right in your workbook on, page 18, it tells you right there. And that just gets handed in when your workbook gets handed in just a couple weeks from now. About 3 weeks from now, we'll be done with this chapter, and you'll be handing that in. The second half, though, of the project is you need to make some kind of, I call it the element ornament, some kind of ornament about your element. Right, so here are a couple examples from past years. Right, so whatever element you have, this student obviously had gold. Right, it doesn't, and then you need to make something that can hang up in the room. So if you look in our classroom, we've got these little hooks on the ceiling, and then you're just going to make something that kind of attaches onto that hook right there. So I usually tell students, somewhere towards the top, have like a paper clip attached to it so that, that's easily attached and, we can just kind of hang it up and everything. So first thing is, it certainly doesn't have to be made of the actual element, right? Some of the elements like titanium or gold or silver, they're way too expensive. You don't want to bring those in this class. I don't want to be responsible for them. And I'm sure you don't want to lose them. So, it doesn't have to be made out of it and everything. It doesn't have to be super serious, right? This one was actually neon. This student right here had neon on their element. So kind of like they were describing it like it was a big neon sign kind of thing and everything that it has for it. If the element's a cheaper material, sure, this one right here, this student had tin. What better way to describe tin than a tin can, right? So, you could have that. Sometimes they can be kind of funny. This student obviously had iron, so they made an iron out of it and everything. So you could have, that guy going on for it. Fluorine, it could be how the element's used, right? So it doesn't actually have to be showing like the actual element, right? This is supposed to be like a toothbrush. They kind of made their own toothbrush, and it has like, the toothpaste was an eraser that they kind of had like, some stuff in there and everything. So when you're making these, it should look like you spent a little bit of time making it. I always tell students, if it looks like literally you put it together on the bus ride over that morning, then that's not fair to the other students that spent a little bit of time making it. So your project should take you, at least like say 15 minutes to make and everything like that. It shouldn't be, a piece of paper or something like that you just cut out quick. Here was hydrogen, kind of like the hydrogen bomb. They kind of had this big cutout. It was a piece of cardboard with aluminum foil around it and everything like that. Something like this. It doesn't have to look like you spent 3 hours making it, but it should look like, like you spent a couple minutes making the thing and everything at least, right? Some people like to, if you don't want to be super, super artistic, some people just do, okay, they made like an origami shape and just have pictures or facts printed off or colored that they colored or drew on it. So you can do that, right, for it. Here's another one. They had tungsten, which is inside of old-fashioned light bulbs. So they kind of had like a couple of them glued together with some sticks and everything, right? This was supposed to be cobalt, right? Inside of all blue paint, you've got cobalt right there. So they kind of made like a little kind of blue paint can kind of thing with cobalt on it and its element number and everything. Here was copper, right? This is kind of just a piece of it. It used to be a big C for copper that they had for it. This was diamonds, right? Also, this is carbon right here. So, diamonds are what are making carbon. So they had, giant diamond shape that they had, and they kind of wrapped it in, I think it was actually duct tape that had diamond print on it and everything. Titanium, making the space shuttle or other, fancy cars and spaceships and things like that. There's titanium. Strontium is used in fireworks. So this student had, kind of like a firework theme going on with it. Plutonium, this one had like a, kind of like a missile with plutonium in it. Oh, and this one is probably my favorite, calcium, right? Inside of milk. So they decorated the milk. So again, they're not bringing in just like a milk canister, you know what I mean? That looks like, oh, I just had lunch and I just wrote calcium on it really quick with a Sharpie. This obviously took a little bit of planning, right? They actually drew some arms. They have some glitter glued onto it and everything like that. That's usually the big thing I'm looking for. It doesn't look like something that you literally thought last minute and you just slapped it together really quick. You actually spent a little bit of time, making the thing. All right. So also check Schoology. The date for this will be the same date that we have the quiz. It'll be the same day. In about 2 weeks from now, we'll have this going on. All right, hopefully that was helpful, and I'll see you in class.